Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast, This Week in America. As a youth pastor, J. David King wrote most of the stories, skits, and lessons and such that was needed for his church. It wasn't until late in his life that his sister asked him about a story he told her as a child. She was shocked to learn it had been made up on the spot to keep her from crying. At her prodding, he finally put the story in book form, and thus the current book, Lemondrop, The Beginning. The book is packed with life lessons. Several of Jay's stories have been published in various anthologies and other publications, and one of his church skits, Things That Didn't, was made into a short movie that won the Best Writer and Best Film Award at the 2018 Christian Film Festival. J. David King, author of Lemondrop, The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles Book 1, is our guest on This Week in America. Jay, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
I love that story. Your sister was shocked to find out that you made that story up on the spot. Talk about the inspiration, not only for that story, but actually publishing this book, Lemondrop, The Beginning. Where did this all begin?
Well, actually, it did start with the stories that I told my sister. She had a physical ailment that the doctors warned us to keep her from crying. So my job as her teenage older brother became, keep her from crying. Yes. I told her stories. But I got so bored with the, stories I'd been telling, like the Three Bears over and over and over and over can drive you crazy. So I asked her, would you like to hear a new story? And I asked her, okay, what do you want a story about? And she said, tell me a story about a frog. And that's really where the inspiration came, because I started to just on the spot making up a story about a frog. And then as soon as I got to a part where there was a cliffhanger, I told her, okay, now you've got to go to sleep. And if you go to sleep and stay quiet, I'll tell you the next part of the story tomorrow. That's how over the years that story became several. It's going to be a total of series of 6 books.
That's amazing. And what a shrewd teenager you were. You were able to keep this going and keep her from crying and taking her nap and going to sleep for a series of days to get the rest of the story. I love that. The book that we're talking about is Lemondrop, The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1 by J. David King. The book, besides serving a purpose in entertaining your sister and keeping her from crying, you really address some major themes, as I mentioned in this book. What are some of the themes that you deal with for young people in Lemondrop?
Well, the main theme, I would say, in the beginning, it was just, no matter what you are, no matter who you are or what abilities you have, use them. They're valuable. You should be who you are. That was the main thing I wanted to get across in the stories. But over the years, it actually became in my mind anyway, an illustration of how totally inappropriate prejudice of any kind is, because this is a story about a yellow elf with no magic in a green elf kingdom of total magic, and he's not accepted.
What a great way to present this topic to a young person, and that's why this book is doing so well. In the beginning of a series, as Jay mentioned, it's Lemondrop, The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1. J. David King is the author and our guest on the program. You'll find it at stratton-press.com, Amazon, the usual places. Link onto our website, go directly to get information on the book. Jay, as I mentioned, you've done a lot of writing in your lifetime. Talk about your love of writing and how you're able to reach people with your message in your books.
Well, my love of writing is basically because I love to write. How can a writer say anything other than I love to write?
Yes.
I've got things in my mind. I want to get it out, and in the modern world, one of the main ways to do that is put it on paper and let somebody read your thoughts. So that's why I love writing. Let me explain a little bit about my true love for writing. I've always looked at books as being an adventure for any reader. You can go any place, whether it's existing or not. It's an imaginative adventure. And my real joy about being a writer is I get to go there first.
Ah, yes, yes. And then you take us along, and it's interesting. All of our imaginations are a little bit different. So I could read the book to a child, somebody else could do it, and the child could have different interpretations, couldn't they? They get to really use their imagination, their minds, their creativity as they're listening to your story.
Exactly.
It serves so many purposes, and the book is so well done. You mentioned the topic of prejudice. Let's talk about that. This seems to be such an impactful way to get it to a younger audience. Somebody would say, is it appropriate? At what age level can you address prejudice? You do it in such a gentle way at a very early age.
Well, with children, you've got to be gentle. You cannot say, "Hey, here's the harsh black and white of life." But they've got to have an understanding inside of them of the important things that they're going to face in life, whether it be good or bad. A child needs to be aware. Prejudice is one of the topics that I abhor. And the biggest reason I abhor it is because it is so unfair to look at a person and say, because I see what that person looks like, I know that person. That is a stupid statement. So that's why I wanted to teach, even in a child's way, the reality of not so much here's a solution for prejudice, because that's going to take a whole world to accomplish that.
Yes.
But here's an awareness of prejudice. Don't let these stupid thoughts dominate you.
You know, it's interesting, your background as a youth pastor. How did that play into allowing you to develop this rather heavy subject and present it in a way that would get the message across? But this is not from a textbook where you learned about prejudice, is it? You've actually seen it in real life.
I've seen it too much in my life. And I know for anybody who has experienced prejudice, it's easy to say, how can this person be an expert? You can't. There's nobody on the face of the earth that can be an expert about something like that. But you can see it happening, and you can respond with whatever's in your heart when you see it happening.
Do you see that response as you're dealing with people who are commenting on the book, Lemondrop, the beginning, or you see in a youth class, as you're doing this, I'm going to call it a presentation. That sounds formal, but you're just exposing them to a very positive message. Do you see a change? Do you see sort of a light bulb go off that's like where they're listening to, understanding, and probably going to implement your message?
I've heard a lot of comments similar to, I wish everybody would look at it that way.
Yes.
That's actually a discouraging comment, though, because everybody doesn't look at it that way. And there's no one way to look at a broad subject of any sort. So the response I get is positive, yes, but not positive enough to see change.
With us on This Week in America is J. David King. He's the author of Lemondrop, the Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1, the first of a series. You'll find the book at stratton-press.com, all of the usual places. Information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Is this where this begins, when a child formulating ideas about himself, herself, how they fit into society, about other people? Is this, it looks like sort of the grassroots of trying to wipe out prejudice. If we're going to, it's going to begin with children. Is that accurate?
Well, that's accurate the way I see it. You're either going to learn to accept challenges and go on, or fear challenges. You're either going to be accepted or rejected. And from a very young age, it's the easiest path to take the path of acceptance. Whether that's right or wrong, you take the easy path. That's where you really have to teach people. It's not always an easy path.
I mentioned your love of writing, and you've had other stories that have been published. What other writings are you involved in besides the writing geared for a younger audience?
Well, I've written another book that is definitely not a younger audience book, about life in the 1850s, and a young girl that really has hard times and overcomes it with extraordinary results. I like writing books like that. I also like writing poetry. I've written a few songs. I just like to write.
Well, and you touch so many people in the various genres that you're writing. J. David King, our guest, the specific book we're talking about, Lemondrop, the beginning, but so much more as you're finding as we're talking with Jay. And it's interesting as you're reading reviews for Lemondrop, the beginning. One is from a senior citizen, and somebody would look at that and go, boy, that seems strange. Is that fairly common where you get senior citizens, older people that are writing fan letters saying, I really enjoy what you're doing with this book?
That's one of the things that has really surprised me. The book was really designed originally to be read one chapter at a time to a little child, and then tell them you can have the next chapter tomorrow.
Yes.
So I wanted, early on, I started giving the book to older people that had children or grandchildren, to see if they would want to read the book to their kids. But the comments that I was making or getting from them was they loved the book. They couldn't put the book down because of the adventure. It took them into a different world, and they loved it. So I'm getting, as many good comments from young people as I am, the really older audience. That surprised me.
Well, and that's a good thing, too. As you're reading the book to a child or having the child read the book to you, us older people may learn something along the way as well from the younger people or the characters or from Lemondrop that's in the book. What other books are in line for the series? You mentioned you've got more coming up. What are some of the topics, the messages that you will present in Lemondrop?
Well, I'm going to want to cover several broad areas in each book, but the next book, and it's coming out shortly, it's going to get more directly involved with the prejudice issue and overcoming obstacles. I'm going to follow that line for at least a couple of books, and then it's going to go into things like drug addiction. I've got one book dedicated to, not drug addiction, but it's that topic.
Yes.
Things like that, just appropriate feelings about people, a broad variety of topics.
And with the background as a youth pastor, you certainly understand what motivates, a younger person, how to keep their attention and to present the story. This whole process, once you decided, okay, I'm going to write this book, this series, what's this been like? How difficult, how challenging has this been to actually get Lemondrop, the beginning, published and out in the public hands?
Well, actually, the hardest part was getting me to sit down and write the story. My sister, the one that I originally told the stories to, she was after me for 40 years to write that, because she wanted it, first of all, for her children. Then her children got too old, so their children. That's when she said, you've got to get it in publication so that at least my great-grandchildren might be able to hear it. So that was my motivation when I first got started writing. Once I started writing, though, it flows. I don't know if it's that way for all writers, but when a story is coming out in my mind, it's going out of my mind onto the page, and take it or leave it, that's the story that you've got. And that's pretty much what my writing is. On the publication part, I was smart enough to just trust people that are professionals and turn it over to them and let them do their job. I did my job writing it. They can do their job publishing it, and they're doing a great job.
And that's always sort of the juggle that writers go through. They've done the creative part. They understand the creative part. Now it becomes a business, doesn't it? How to effectively do marketing, how to do salesmanship and get the book out there. What advice, you mentioned that this basically was several decades in coming from the original story idea to getting it published. What other advice would you give to authors starting out? Because I'm sure they faced the same thing that you were going through for years. I want to do this, but I just can't get started. What advice would you give them?
This is going to sound ridiculous, but I think the best advice for any writer is, even though you've got a trash can, don't use it. Don't throw what you've written away, because someday you're going to see how good your writing was that would have been thrown away. I have thrown away so much stuff that I wish I could remember, and that was foolish. So that would be my advice to any writer.
That's interesting. So don't hit delete, and don't have the trash can if you're using a typewriter next to the typewriter. Keep some distance so you're not going to throw that away. A couple minutes left in the program. Our guest on the show today is J. David King, author of Lemondrop: The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1. How about illustration? The book is so beautifully illustrated and enhances your story. Talk about that and getting the illustration so they really complement the message in the story.
That, to a large extent, was the publishers that did some of the illustrations. Some of the illustrations was done by people that I know, and it worked. So I sent it to the publishers, and they utilized those photos or those drawings.
That's interesting.
I am not an artist, so I definitely trusted the publishers to choose which ones would be appropriate.
Well, that goes back to your lesson a couple of minutes ago, that let the business people, the professionals, handle the aspects of it that you're not aware of. Who are some of the people that influenced you in writing? Some of the people that you enjoy reading that sparks creativity in you?
Well, actually, my grade school teachers and high school teachers were the biggest influence for me, because like with poetry, for example, if our class was given an assignment to write one poem, I would write 5. And the teachers knew that it was going to be that way, so they would pick out the best of the 5 and judge that one, grade that one. Totally unfair as far as teaching goes, but that's where I fell in love with writing.
You know, it's amazing. You talk to more authors who go back to stories like that these teachers who really shape and influence your interest at a young age. I'm not sure even they understand fully the impact they have on young people in shaping them and shaping them. Boy, the time has gone by so quickly. J. David King is our guest on the program. The book is Lemondrop: The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1. There will be others. Another one about to come out here very soon, and we'll let you know when that happens. Jay, congratulations on the success of Lemondrop: The Beginning. Thank you for being with us on the program. Hopefully we can do it again. Excellent job with the work you're doing. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
It has been our pleasure. J. David King, Lemondrop: The Beginning, the Lemondrop Chronicles, Book 1. You'll find at stratton-press.com. Amazon, the usual places. Link on by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. We're back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.